All right, everybody, welcome to Talking Taker episode number 22. We appreciate you joining us today on our exploration digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time. My name is Alex Doriot. I am one half of the Creatures of the Night, here for another round of Dead Man Talking, and I am joined by my tag team partner, as I am every single Friday or late Thursday night if you're a subscriber, my man Travis White. Travis, my friend, I think word of our podcast is spreading over to the people at New Japan Professional Wrestling.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
How so?
I mean, I watched Wrestle Kingdom this past week, and I saw Okada busting out a couple of Tombstone pile drivers on there, so I figured that must have been a nod to us. He must be telling us he's a big fan of the podcast and of the Dead Man.
That's true, and the Young Bucks did a Meltzer driver, so that's a Tombstone as well.
Very true.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for the shout out.
Yeah, we appreciate it. That was an incredible show, absolutely no doubt, top to bottom. It's gonna be hard to beat that for the best wrestling card of the year, unless the Undertaker decides to come out of retirement and make an appearance at this year's WrestleMania. The speculation continuing to grow as we wait to see what he's going to do at Raw 25th anniversary. I'm sure we're going to cover that here in the next week or two once we find out what's going on with that. Any more speculation on your end? What we might see from the Undertaker?
I hope if he comes out that the crowd just chants "Rest in peace," meaning his career. Just let it rest in peace. Just let it be done. You've done enough. No need to do anything else. So.
Yeah, I'm pulling for a Hall of Fame announcement. I think that would be the best case scenario for everybody involved. But the rumor mill's going. Everybody's thinking a John Cena match is in the works yet again, and we'll see. We'll talk about that when it actually goes down, because we've got a ton to talk about today. Absolutely. Our next episode is here, episode 22. We're entering an interesting phase of the Undertaker's career over the next 6 months or so. Well, it's all interesting. We hope it's all interesting. We think it's interesting, and we appreciate all the fans out there for listening. But this period is we've seen one sort of triple threat feud building the past few months with Diesel, Bret Hart, Undertaker all intertwined with each other, and now we're going to enter another very different sort of triple threat feud as the Undertaker gets mixed in with two brand new characters, sort of, in Goldust and Mankind. These three guys are going to be intertwined with each other, going back and forth with each other through the next 5 or 6 pay-per-views or so. And we're going to kick it off today with our breakdown of Undertaker versus Goldust in a casket match at In Your House number 7? I think this is number
6 or 7, yeah. I think it's 7.
7, yeah. In Your House number 7, Beware of Dog.
This is the first one that's actually sub-named Beware of Dog. The other ones they renamed, they named them all afterward, like Rage in the Cage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they named them afterward. But this is the first one that's actually In Your House, and then it has a title. Beware. So that's a little evolution in the WWF, history here.
In history books. Yep.
Yeah.
And I just think this is such a unique time and really such an important time, actually, in the history of the WWF, because you've really got in Undertaker, Mankind, and Goldust. And we're going to talk about Mankind's debut here in just a minute as we run down the build-up to this match and Goldust's role. But I just want to talk for a second just about those characters themselves. I mean, you've got arguably the 3 most iconic characters in WWF history. And I mean characters, not necessarily wrestlers. I mean, obviously you're going to throw Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Ric Flair, John Cena, guys like that in there, but
The Rock, Stone Cold.
yeah, but all those guys, I mean, sure, they are characters in a sense. They're not their actual personas, but they're guys with real names, I guess. They're guys that are out there. They have personalities, but they're not just over-the-top comic book-like characters. And in Undertaker, Mankind, and Goldust, you've got that other page of wrestling where you have over-the-top characters, almost like superheroes and supervillains. Goldust and Mankind could easily be like Goldust and Mankind could easily be like Batman or Superman villains in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
Undertaker, we've talked many times about how he's a superhero type character as well. And there's been so many of those throughout the years. And these three guys, and you could really even, I guess number 4 you can mix in there would be Kane, who we're going to get to here in a little while. But so many of these characters have flopped and failed over the years, and we've seen a few of them along the way already. We'll see some more of them as well. But these three guys kind of show what can happen when the right guy gets matched with the right character, and when that guy goes all out and has total commitment to their character. You get Undertaker, you get Mankind, you get Goldust. Somebody who can take that ridiculousness and make it believable, make it entertaining, and make it legendary. Because Goldust still on the main roster of the WWE 22 years after this pay-per-view.
Yeah, he's on 205 Live now, so he lost a few pounds, I guess.
How about that?
But no, man, I agree with everything you just said. You know, those of you who know the dirt sheet stuff, I mean, or you listen to other podcasts, you know, from the guys that were actually there, you know that Mankind is, Mick Foley was somebody that, you know, they're looking for another feud for Undertaker after the Diesel chapter is over. And JR is pushing for Mick Foley to come in, and Vince McMahon apparently just keeps saying no over and over again. And I don't know if the Mankind character was first or Mick Foley was, I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, I don't remember. But they do bring him in, and no one could have done that character. Like we said in the first few episodes of Talking Taker, no one could embody the Undertaker better than Mark Calloway. No one could do Mankind like Mick Foley does, and he gives everything to it. I mean, he's even shaving part of his head. You know, he's pulling his hair out. I mean, he's giving everything. He's a method actor, you know, here. And yeah, we'll continue talking about him for the next several episodes, but we do see his debut before this particular pay-per-view match takes place. And yeah, go same thing with Goldust. That Goldust character, Bruce Pritchard just did a podcast all about it, and it's fascinating to hear just how much Dustin Runnels was willing to go and even get implants for it, you know. So
yeah, I recommend everybody go out of your way, if you don't already, listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson. Go listen to the Goldust episode. A lot of great insight on there, and obviously those guys, or Bruce was there. Conrad wasn't, but Bruce was, and so he'll give you all the inside scoop. And you know, we're never have promised to give you any inside scoop. We're giving you our analysis, the fans' perspective of one superstar's career and all the different careers he interacted with. So that Something to Wrestle With is obviously a great compliment to us, and it's great timing as that episode just came out a couple weeks ago as we get into the Goldust character, and we're covering Mankind here as well, like Travis just mentioned. And you know, we're seeing, to borrow a phrase from WCW, we're seeing like the new blood rising here in the WWF, from the golden era of WCW. You know, 1995. Which we just finished covering, is kind of like the bottoming out of the WWF in a lot of ways. I mean, I feel like that's definitely, to this point, it's the worst year that we've covered, and so many just bad characters and bad matches, bad pay-per-views in there. And 1996, we're seeing the rebuilding. So we're seeing new characters like Mankind and Goldust come into play. We're seeing guys like Diesel, like Razor Ramon, like 123 Kid, all leaving the company. And we're seeing Bret Hart taking a long extended break after WrestleMania as well. So they're being forced to filter in this new blood. And it all kind of begins at the Raw after WrestleMania 12 on April 1st, 1996. In the very first match on the show, you've got Mankind debuting after months of really, really spectacular vignettes, some of the best intro vignettes we've ever seen in the WWF, debuting against Bob Sparkplug Holly, who of all people would have just one of the longest runs we've ever seen in the WWF. I mean, he was there for nearly 15 years, I guess, probably, once it was all played out. But Mankind, like you said, he's totally committed, like nothing we've ever seen before, and just decimates Bob Holly here in this debut match.
Coming down the aisle, weighing 287 pounds, Mankind! Not a pretty sight. Look at this. What's gonna happen when Mankind hits the ring? What can we expect? What about that mug, McMahon? Woo! I heard he tried to enter an ugly contest, and they said, sorry, no professionals. Look at this guy. That's fitting that on April Fool's Day, this man would make his debut in the squared circle here in the World Wrestling Federation. Mankind. Wow.
Yeah, and he debuts the mandible claw, which I guess Bob Holly had an Alka-Seltzer in his mouth or something. I don't know, but because he starts foaming at the mouth. But that's the commentary is really putting over that move and how devastating it is and how it's like a nerve hold that he puts him out with. And one thing I love about Mankind is that he had entrance music and different exit music.
Yes.
It's so cool. I remember even on the video games, like one of the very first one, like Doriot, was it Attitude on the PlayStation?
Yeah.
He had the different entrance and the exit music. I remember that. So
and he kept that going for a
cool
long time.
touch.
Yeah, it was a cool touch. Like once he wins, that music's supposed to like calm him down after this psychotic state that he's been in during the match. Just a great character touch on there. Did you notice that he kind of does the mandible claw a little bit differently in these opening matches too?
Yeah.
He like comes from behind and like hooks him from behind in there, as opposed to when he would use the Mr. Sacco and just go straight at him. I didn't remember that, but I definitely noticed he's doing the move a little bit differently here in these early days.
Yeah, we'll start seeing his evolution as well as we continue on throughout the next several years of Undertaker's run too. But at the end of this episode of Raw, as you mentioned, this is a Raw after WrestleMania, and it wasn't as big of a deal back then as it is now.
Right.
But it is kind of a reboot, like you said, and we have the main event is Undertaker versus Justin Hawk Bradshaw, future JBL, future Ministry member, future acolyte, so he'll tie in with the Undertaker again. This is not the first or last time we'll see him.
Definitely. Another guy that's going to be a part of this new blood in there that we're going to see many, many times over the next few years.
Yeah, but Undertaker beats him clean with a tombstone, and then Mankind comes in and beats him up afterward. Or no, I'm sorry, he doesn't. He hits the tombstones going to pin him. That's right. And then Mankind interferes. I apologize. Yeah, my bad.
They're protecting Justin Hawk Bradshaw, I guess.
Saw money signs.
Maybe so. I mean, it's just funny to see him like with the long ponytail and the cowboy boots and the red tights. Man, it's just that's a guy who just had one of the craziest makeovers you'll ever see in the WWE.
Oh yeah. Thank God, Maggle. Anyway, so yeah, Mankind comes in, interferes, beats Undertaker up, throws him into the stairs, and then he hits the Cactus Jack elbow drop off the apron, which the camera shoots it perfect too. It's right down on the floor behind Undertaker, and you see Mankind jump off of the apron and do an elbow drop. I don't know, 8 feet out into the rampway, and that was one of his signature moves as Cactus Jack character back in WCW and in Japan. And I guess that's what Vince didn't get. But right here, it's the way they shoot it. Production is awesome.
It was.
He lays this, and he's laying Undertaker out. Again, I mentioned a few episodes ago how Undertaker's becoming more human. We'll see some more supernatural stuff, but he's definitely becoming more vulnerable, to his opponents.
Yeah, I mean, the show goes off the air with Mankind on top of the Undertaker. Like usually, we've seen Undertaker get beat up and sell these big beatings before. That's not anything new, but usually,
right.
And I don't think we've ever seen like the show go off the air with the Undertaker not rising up somehow. Like he stumbled towards the back, or even when he lost the casket match to Yokozuna, he ascended to the heavens to be with the angels, the man who walks with the angels. But on the show goes off the air and the Undertaker is down, and Mankind is the first person to do that, and in one night, in 1 hour, we've got a star on our hands. Mankind is made up to be huge. I mean, that is how you make the new superstar right there. And Undertaker sells that beating.
He bookended the show. The opening of the show, the closing of the show.
Yep.
That's awesome.
He's a big deal right off the bat, and Undertaker sells that beating for almost a month. I don't think we see him on Raw again for another month.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess if Vince hated Mick Foley that much, he was just like, okay, JR, we're going to put this ball in your court and see what happens. So, good on JR for making this happen.
Absolutely. Because
it definitely worked. Like you said, in an hour, Mankind was over as a huge star. Sometimes stars nowadays debut and it's like a fart in church, man.
Exactly.
Like Tensai Lord Tensai. That was awful. But this is how you make a star in a night.
The complete opposite of that. Yeah, for sure.
The complete opposite of Matt Bloom's Lord Tensai reintroduction to the WWE universe. So, anyway, I think like about 3 weeks later on Raw, they just kind of recap what happened with The Undertaker. This is on April 22nd, and Mankind beats Aldo Montoya. Oh, just incredible. For those of you who don't know, Goldust is the Intercontinental Champ, and he's feuding with the Ultimate Warrior. They're going to have a match at In Your House 6, Goldust and Ultimate Warrior. So this is 3 weeks later, but there's a mention of the Undertaker. It's just kind of showing, Mankind and Goldust still being built up. And this also goes to show how, as we continue to talk about the build to this match of Goldust versus Undertaker, there's not much build. There's really not much build, and I think it comes from the fact that Razor Ramon had left. That was who Goldust was supposed to be feuding with, and they're just kind of having in a holding pattern. Like you said, getting these three guys over, the Undertaker, Goldust, and Mankind all at once, kind of intertwining their stories here as they go through the next few pay-per-views.
And on that, I did look up on the house shows, just see what Undertaker was up to while not on TV. And during this month, he kind of just keeps going back and forth with Goldust, Diesel, and Owen Hart, even on a couple shows. Undertaker goes up against, and he did actually compete at the In Your House. It's actually In Your House 7. We've been saying it wrong. In Your House 7 was the April one. Good Friends, Better Enemies. He did wrestle Mankind in the main event in the dark match on that show. So we do see them. We don't see it. But he did defeat Mankind, and actually that match is on the Attitude Era unreleased DVD and Blu-ray that came out a couple years ago.
Sweet.
So you can go back and watch that if you've got that DVD, but obviously it was never mentioned on TV or anything like that. And another just interesting one, they had during this time the Kuwaiti Cup tournament over in Kuwait, and Undertaker made it to the semifinals in there, but ended up losing in the semifinals to, of all people, any guesses? 1996, April 96, who he might have lost to?
Ahmed Johnson?
No, Ahmed was in that tournament, but actually lost to Triple H, of all people, due to DQ after Triple H tried to bring a chair into the ring, but Undertaker ended up using it, and the referee saw Undertaker using it. So Triple H goes over on the Undertaker, even back in April 96.
Wow. How about, was any of that on TV, or was that just?
I think they showed the finals.
Superstars and stuff?
I think they showed the finals on TV, but the rest of it was just for the house shows.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Just a little side note in there before he comes back to TV. Did you have anything for April 29th? Anything on that one?
Yeah, April 29th, there's a Mankind interview, and he says he's going to take care of Undertaker whenever and wherever, and he calls him a gutless fool, which I thought is a bold statement for a character. Yeah, it's really, Mankind, that character's being pushed out the gate just hard, as a heel. Not a cool heel, but he calls Undertaker a gutless fool. But I just thought it was neat, Again, we're not building that match yet. We're building Goldust and Undertaker, but simultaneously we're building two feuds at once, basically.
Right.
Poor Goldust, Razor Ramon left. That's what he's left with. So.
It really feels like that on these Raws. There's a lot happening. It's all over the place. A lot of different people feuding in like multiple feuds, and it feels like they're kind of rewriting these shows as they go along here because there's so many changes going on.
Oh yeah.
And that's what like the May 6th Raw kind of felt like. I mean, the main event of the show is Owen Hart versus The Undertaker, which that's random enough already, but they just kind of set Goldust is out on commentary for Undertaker's match, and Vince McMahon says, we've been excited to find out about the stipulation for your match with The Undertaker. And I was sitting there watching like, what match with The Undertaker? Like, when have we even talked about this? But Goldust is killing me here on commentary with his all-gold headset. Dude, it's great. Great touch right there.
Great. It's so good. I know. But yeah, they talk about, we've been told that the match at In Your House is going to be called the Casket match, and Goldust just basically says no, and he gets up to leave.
Yeah, he freaks out. He's like doing his Goldust, like seducing Vince McMahon, and then all of a sudden he finds out it's a casket match and he becomes Dustin Rhodes all over again.
Exactly.
Like loses his character, loses his mind, tries to leave. That was pretty funny.
It's going to be a casket match, and Goldust ever since hearing that has really been upset. Did you see him sitting out here with us?
Yeah, watching him like touch Vince McMahon, his boss, next to him, it's hilarious. But he goes out and Undertaker beats Owen Hart, but Goldust is kind of on the outside, and as Goldust is going to leave, Paul Bearer pushes out a gold casket with Goldust star and logo on top of it. So I was like, how convenient they just had that backstage as we announced that they're going to have a match together. So.
Do you think they have caskets? Paul Bearer has a casket made up for every superstar, depending on who they might face at any given moment. Travels around with them.
Probably.
He must be.
They have an extra production truck just for caskets.
Well, I liked that on commentary. Goldust stays around on commentary for this match, and Vince is just teasing Goldust the whole time. Like, he tells him that it's going to be an airtight and watertight casket. Mm-hmm. So, in case Undertaker decides to dump it off the bridge or something like that after the match is over. I don't know why he told him it was watertight.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, man.
But yeah.
There's so many good things with Goldust coming up, too.
I mean,
he's in character all. Except for when he turns into Dustin Rhodes and freaks out about the casket.
Well, yeah, Vince says on commentary, he says, Goldust is a great actor. So he's saying, he's probably not really even that scared about it. And so Goldust, he starts acting more like himself. Like you said, Paul Bearer rolls the casket out, and Paul Bearer kind of bumps into Goldust with it, and then Goldust starts to seduce Paul Bearer. I mean, you talk about masters of visuals and facial expressions and saying anything without using any words. Those two guys, exactly. Yeah. Goldust is playing with his tie and starts unbuttoning Paul Bearer's shirt, and Jerry Lawler says that Goldust must be a chubby chaser now.
Lawler has so many lines, and so does JR. The actual match, we get to it, that they would be cut off of television today if they said these. Or USA would have them fired or something. Oh, there's so many things.
Well, this whole storyline. I mean,
yeah,
really,
it's very homoerotic coming up soon, guys.
Yeah.
And the crowd, I think it's the next Raw. Are we ready to move on to next week's Raw?
Well, I just want just wrap that up. Goldust is teasing Paul Bearer, and then they said on commentary that he goosed Paul Bearer, and Paul Bearer runs away holding his backside like Goldust.
Yeah. Squeezed his behind.
Squeezed his butt. His facial expressions are just priceless. And then Goldust starts going after Owen Hart outside the ring. So he's really just playing mind games with everybody. Before Undertaker, he finished Owen Hart with a jumping tombstone. He jumped up in the air and hit it kind of like Okada in that Wrestle Kingdom match. But yeah, just a lot of stuff happening here. I think I got a little bit of that out of order, but anyway.
It does. It doesn't matter.
It was.
There's too much stuff to talk about.
Yeah, you can go on to next week.
I'll recommend you listeners go back and watch those episodes.
It's something else.
We're all building up to this. It makes you in 2018. I guess it's 2018 now. In 2018, it makes you go, oh my, this really on TV. So yeah. Yeah, he squeezes Owen Hart's butt, too, when he puts him back in the ring right before Undertaker gets in the tombstone. And Owen just kind of looks at him like, are you serious? So, probably, the actual Owen Hart, not the character Owen Hart. Yeah. So, well, on the next week, on May 13th, there's there's a Paul Bearer and Undertaker come out again with the gold casket. And for those of you who don't know, they used to film Raw, back to back then. So, if you do watch it, you'll see the same crowd, same city, same outfits for everybody. So that's why they use this gold casket so much in the next few weeks. I think they're just well, crap, we got 4 weeks of Raw to shoot for a pay-per-view. Let's just use Undertaker and Goldust together. So, anyway, whatever. But they bring that casket out again, which the crowd had probably just seen 40 minutes ago. They bring it out again, and they do an interview in the ring with Vince McMahon. And there's just generic, you're gonna pay, all this kind of stuff. Did you write anything down from what they said?
Just like what you were saying earlier, the puns are just kind of on fire here. Undertaker says Goldust loves to be in the spotlight, but he's about to cross into the dark side.
Yeah.
The King said on commentary that this might turn into the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I thought he meant just because like all these weird things were going to start happening, but he said because people on the outside might start getting involved, just like they do at the Rocky Horror Picture Show screenings. And I was like, that's the weirdest comparison you could have even come up with.
That's not what he meant.
But
he meant cross-dressing people and stuff.
My favorite part was Vince McMahon asking Undertaker what he thought of the bizarre antics of Goldust, and Undertaker says, "Bizarre? You're asking me about bizarre?"
Exactly.
And I thought it was a great line by Undertaker as Goldust starts to make his way out to the ring, and he quotes the movie Tombstone to start off with, which appropriate.
So good. Yeah,
perfect.
Awesome. I love that he did that. Yeah, he says whatever the quote is and says Tombstone 1993.
Yeah,
that's like so great. And then it just gets very homoerotic from here, man. He's saying things, and I don't even want to repeat them, but he's saying stuff, and
he asked him what kind of cologne is he wearing, embalming fluid number 5.
Yeah, it does say.
And he
I don't know how Undertaker didn't laugh at that. I would have.
He quotes one of your favorite movies, one of your favorite movie lines.
Yeah, he looks Undertaker in the eye, and he quotes the Joker from the original Batman.
You know something, that coffin right there, you can lay me in at any time, because you know why? There will be no resting once we're in. No, there won't. I've never danced with the devil in the pale moonlight, but I'll try anything once.
And he says, I've never danced with the devil in the pale moonlight, but I'll try anything once. So that Jack Nicholson quote is one of my favorites of all time, and I love seeing Goldust say it here. I popped huge.
Oh, me too. I did too.
Of both of these. Yeah, this was my my mark for Batman and wrestling converging into one big giant pop for me. So it was awesome.
I knew you'd be excited for that.
Yeah. And then he goes and grabs Undertaker's hand and like.
Well, I guess he's trying to dance with him. He grabs both his hands, and
I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
So he goes to grab his hands like to dance, and it almost becomes a test of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Undertaker just kind of snaps and knocks him down to the ground. And
man, I miss the test of strength. We don't see that in wrestling anymore.
No.
Me and you, we always use it in our backyard matches, but
yeah, I always did. Yeah, absolutely. We saw the Cruiserweight Classic a few times.
That's true.
A year and a half ago. But other than that, yeah, nobody does it anymore. But here, Undertaker's doing it and kind of has Goldust reeling down, and then Mankind again comes from the back and, like you said, kind of reaches around and puts the mandible claw on him.
Did you notice his hands? Mankind's hands? They were all like red and like scratched. Yeah, what happened?
I have no idea what happened in between last episode and this one. He must have been backstage punching something. So, because it's taped on the same night. So I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
Yeah, his hands are all red and like taped up and bloody looking. It's weird. But he does the mandible claw, and Undertaker, I think he bubbles out the mouth like the Alka-Seltzer as well. Here, I can't remember, but I know he did the first time. And then, and things get weird.
Yeah, this is where it gets weird, man. And, you know, they talked about this on the Something to Wrestle episode, that a lot of this stuff just does not age well. And, I mean, that's just that's very true. You can't argue it. I mean, Goldust is iconic. He is memorable, but iconic does not always mean good. You know, the gobbledygooker is iconic too, but it's not like a great moment in wrestling history.
Right.
But we all remember it. And
the Shockmaster.
The Shockmaster, iconic, but not great. And Goldust, you know, I think the fact that all the stuff he did later on, like into the 2000s, and his run with Booker T and all these comebacks that he's made over the years, that's what's really truly made him a legend and Hall of Famer.
Sure.
This stuff, you know, it was pushing the boundaries and it was memorable, but gosh, it does not age well. And it's really, I wanted to say, you know, it's not so much the homosexuality of it, in my opinion. It's just the sexuality of it in general.
Right.
Like, if it was a woman, if it was Marlena doing this, it would still be really weird and uncomfortable, I feel like. You know, I just don't like that in wrestling so much. You know, It just pushes it too much. Like, I was embarrassed to be watching this with my wife in the house. Like, it made me uncomfortable, and I don't want to feel like that when I'm watching wrestling. And I feel like, whether it was Goldust or whether it would have been a woman doing it, it just would have been awkward and just not what wrestling is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about guys fighting each other and fighting over something, pride or a belt or something. And, I get that Goldust is trying to do mind games and everything, and that's his whole character, but yeah, it's too much. And it's
too much,
it's great to push the boundaries, but sometimes you do push it too far when you're doing these sort of things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm glad you pointed out, because, if Marlena would have done this stuff, because basically, listeners, if you haven't seen it, he straddles Undertaker, and he starts gyrating like Val Venus would come a few years from now, and then he lays on him.
Mm-hmm.
And the WWE Network version cuts away, but he actually licks Undertaker's leg.
Yeah.
They said on the Bruce Pritchard podcast. It cuts that out on the WWE Network version, but he actually licks him, and the camera cuts away. But he's laying on him for a good minute or so.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time. It felt like 3 hours. He was just laying on him and straddling him and touching him. And as he goes and licks him, and he kind of goes to get off of him, then Undertaker finally sits up, and Goldust turns to Dustin Runnels and runs away.
Yeah.
Again. But yeah, even if Terry or Marlena would have done that, it would have been uncomfortable to watch. Just for wrestling is
right.
It's different.
And I will say, to be fair, Goldust is doing that, and he's creeping on Undertaker. When Undertaker sits up, the crowd pops huge. Like, they want to see Goldust get beat up, and I guess you could say in a sense that the angle worked, got the crowd reaction, but just going back and watching it, it's not the proudest moment. You're not going to see that in a lot of video packages in 2018. You're probably not going to show that on the 25th anniversary of Raw. Not going to be proud of that.
No, or whenever Dustin Runnels goes into the Hall of Fame, they're not going to show that. So.
Yeah, not going to show that segment.
But I do want to say, we reached out to somebody to ask them, somebody who worked behind the scenes at this point. We reached out to Vince Russo. I mentioned several episodes ago he had called because I'd signed up for his brand. And check it out, everybody, if you have $4 a month. It's really worth it. It's entertaining, even if you don't agree with half the stuff he says, like I don't. But it's fun, and we reached out to him on Twitter and just asked him if he had any insight to this, because he was working behind the scenes at this point, and he just said, what do you say, bro, I don't remember anything from 22 years ago, but he did say that he does remember that Undertaker was completely comfortable working with the Goldust angle. He didn't have any drawbacks about it. And I do remember them saying that on Bruce Pritchard's podcast as well, that Taker was completely cool with it, which probably because he respected Dustin in the same way, That's probably why, but that's just us speculating. But anyway, thanks, Vince Russo, for a little bit of insight there. We'll see what happens. But moving on, again, we're trying to get to this match, but there's a lot of weird stuff happening beforehand. The next week on Raw, there's another interview, and it's in the aisleway. JR is interviewing Paul Bearer, and there's the gold casket's out there again. And JR asked if he could talk to the Undertaker. And Paul Bearer's like, oh, sure, he's right here.
I was hoping that we would be able to talk with the Undertaker this week. Is that going to be possible? Where's Goldust? He's here. Would you like to talk to him right now? I certainly would. You're not telling me he's in the casket. Where do you think he is?
He's talking about, Sunday, you're going to be, this is where I'm going to leave you lying, or something like that. But in the middle of him giving his speech to JR, Mankind comes out. No, he's talking about Goldust on Sunday. I'm going to leave you lying here, still your fate here. And in the middle of that, Mankind interrupts, and he takes like a belt and ties Undertaker into the casket, steals it, they keep saying, and then he goes to the back, grabs this 10-foot pole, and just beats the crap out of this Goldust casket. Just beats it, and it's legitimately dented. And then he knocks it over. He just pushes it forward and knocks it over. And Undertaker's still inside. They say, he dumps it on the concrete floor. And that's how this build-up ends. Mankind kind of gets the last laugh on Undertaker in the build-up to the Goldust Undertaker match, which is weird. So,
and we see, he's going to play a big role in the match too. Not to spoil anything, but I told you earlier when we were talking, I didn't watch that episode of Raw. I didn't realize there was something I just forgot. I don't know. I missed it as I was going through the build up to this, but I do remember that segment as you're describing it. I remember him beating up the casket with the pole like that as you described it. That was pretty memorable, and obviously I missed an important part of the build up. So sorry as your host, but that's why we have two hosts.
But that brings us to the actual show. This is that we're talking about is Beware of Dog, or In Your House, Beware of Dog, and we want to talk just a brief second about it before we actually get to the match, because if you guys don't know, it was May 26, 1996. It was in the Florence Civic Center in Florence, South Carolina, and there was six matches on the card, and they got through 2 of them, I think.
They got through the opening, the free-for-all match, and then the opening match on the card, which was Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and the Wild Man, Marco Miro.
Yeah. And then the thunderstorms outside knocked all the power out, basically, and they kind of pushed on with the rest of the show. I know Steve Austin talks about he and Savio Vega having that strap match in the dark. But anyway, long story short, they kind of do a redo. The next night, they filmed Monday Night Raw. I don't remember where that was, but then on May 28th, 96, they're in North Charleston.
Yeah, Charleston, South Carolina, and that was... So we're technically covering In Your House, Beware of Dog 2 here on this episode, because we don't have any footage of the original In Your House, Beware of Dog, of their match. And you see that when you go back and watch it on the network, and I remember the Coliseum home video release was like this too. You get that opening match of Triple H and Mark Miro, and then it cuts to the main event of the night, which is Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog for the WWF Championship. So those 2 matches, and then we get the 3 matches that were redone on the Tuesday night, and they aired live on pay-per-view as part of the replay. And just to take you back to the kids' corner, I do have a story about this pay-per-view. Yes. I remember being at my grandmother's house in Bristol, Tennessee. My dad's mom, we were there. Must have been just like the beginning of summer. Man, we must have just got away right after school ended to go visit her. And I remember watching the free-for-all match, which used to come on the preview channel. For those of you who don't remember, out there before there were guides on the guide button on your cable remote, there used to be just a channel you had to watch to go through and see what was on TV that night. And they would have half of the screen would be the channels going through, and then the other half would be like a window that would show shows on there. And the WWF used to show the 30-minute preview like they do on YouTube now. They used to show it on the preview channel. So there was some match on that.
Free-for-all?
The free-for-all.
Is that they called it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I did another thing that kids today have no idea about. I went up to the pay-per-view channels and tried to watch the show through the scramble-vision, because sometimes some houses you could get sort of a semi-clear version of the pay-per-view channel. Like it would be kind of discolored, but you could kind of see what was going on or hear it at least. And for some reason at her house, it was like pretty high quality scramble-vision on the pay-per-view.
Wow.
Like I could hear the commentary crystal clear, and the picture was messed up, but I could see enough of what was happening. So I remember watching that first match, Triple H and Mark Miro, and I was playing with my action figures because it, just kind of, you could kind of hear what was going on, but you couldn't really see it. And I was 10, yeah. But I was a hardcore fan, But I remember it going out and be like, what is happening? Why aren't they showing these other matches? And it was because of this storm. This storm knocked out the power, and while it was happening, they did do this match, Goldust against The Undertaker for the Intercontinental Championship in a casket match. And at the original one, Goldust ended up winning the casket match when Steve Austin, Vader, Justin Bradshaw, and Isaac Yankem came out and attacked The Undertaker and helped Goldust put him in the casket, which is not the finish we see at the In Your House Beware of Dog 2. And there's another great Something to Wrestle episode that talks about this specific pay-per-view, and it talks about them wanting to save this big finish for when they could actually use it on TV. So they called it audible last second and switched it to that finish of having some of these other heels come out and help Goldust win, because they have a pretty unique, pretty special finish that they actually use once they can actually air it on TV here on May 28th, 1996.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. I didn't realize you had seen this show, or scramble-vision show.
Yeah, and I had it on Coliseum Video, too.
Yeah, and your scramble-vision goes out because the power goes out, so that's hilarious. But this is, fun fact for you, this is the only, if my sources are correct, this is the only WWF pay-per-view live from South Carolina. Ever.
Yeah, they never went back.
I don't blame them. Anyway.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, a really cool thing is we get JR and Mr. Perfect on commentary for night 2. I think night 1 was Vince and Lawler.
Yeah.
They put in Jim Ross and Mr. Perfect, and it is so good to hear Jim Ross on commentary, man. So he makes this match so much more enjoyable. I feel like if it were Vince and Lawler, I wouldn't have enjoyed as much, but just hearing him and how much he puts over the competitors and the stuff they do, the way he calls it, he's just, golly, he's so good. I didn't realize how much I missed him the last 5 years of Undertaker matches until we got him now. So.
It is a breath of fresh air. It is it's a weird combo with Jim Ross and Mr. Perfect on there. That I think might be the only time we'll ever hear that on here. But I do have something to say about Jim Ross and Vince McMahon, but I'm going to hold that to the end. It's something I wanted to bring up with that. But you mentioned that because Jim Ross was great, but there was one thing that I feel like Vince McMahon would have done better with. But we'll get to that here later on. And I do want to say before we jump into the match that this pay-per-view also had the final WWF appearance of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who was, of course, one of the pivotal characters in the first few years of The Undertaker, bringing him in and debuting him back at Survivor Series 90, and then, having a very long extended feud with him and his $1 Million Corporation that we've covered back in the archives. So just kind of another changing of the guard that we see here in the middle of 1996.
Yeah, he'll leave for WCW. Kevin Nash is already gone. Scott Hall's already gone. 1, 2, 3 Kid's already gone. So, yeah, a lot of folks leaving for where the big boys play. And I guess at this point, no, NWO hasn't debuted yet, but Hall and Nash have on WCW television, I believe.
Yeah, because
I think Scott Hall has.
The April In Your House would be the last appearance for both those guys on a pay-per-view, at least.
So yeah, here we go. In Your House, Beware of Dog. We get because of the way that they had to splice together both shows. You get the golden caskets already against the ring when the match is starting. So they have the golden casket pushed up against the ring, and if you've never seen this match, you're like, well, that's weird. But as the match progresses, you'll see why they do that. It's a gimmick casket here. So Goldust comes out first, and this is the first ever casket match for a title. That's a little fun fact they put over on commentary. Yeah.
Oh wait, that's not right though, because the one at Royal Rumble was for the WWF Championship.
I mean, I'm sorry, for the Intercontinental title.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
said this for the Intercontinental title.
The Undertaker's first time going for that title too, that we've seen. Yeah, I think.
And it looks awesome as gold too.
Yeah.
Goldust has his gold belt too. It looks really cool. So, but then Mr. Perfect says that Goldust has a chance to be the first guy to beat the Undertaker in a casket match. And JR just kind of dismisses him. He's like, I don't think so, Tim.
Also, if Goldust wins this match, he'll make history here. First man ever to beat the Undertaker in a casket match. Well, I don't know about that.
Mr. Perfect, man, he wasn't around much during that time. He doesn't know his history.
Yeah. So, yeah, he just dismisses it kind of, and good pop with Undertaker when you hear his music and the lights go out, and you're kind of waiting for him to appear in the aisleway, and the lights come back on, and he is already in the ring behind Goldust, which is really cool. So, is that the first time we've seen him in a match?
Yeah.
I think we've seen it on Raw. We haven't seen it in a match yet. It's the first time, right?
Yeah, the Undertaker, the lights go out for his entrance, obviously. Jim Ross on commentary says the lights are out on purpose this time, hopefully. And they come up in the middle of his entrance, which is so unexpected, and it's because he's standing there in the ring behind Goldust, and I guess he was in the casket. That was my guess. How he got out there. He came out in the casket that time, and so they used the casket for a couple different things in this match. Like you said, the casket's already out there, so I guess he rolled out of that. And, man, it is all Undertaker to begin with. Man, he is just dominating this, tossing Goldust around, on top of the casket, into the steps, into the post, body slam, elbow, old school, just all sorts of stuff. Just
getting taps from the back from folks front row.
Yeah.
Guys like Bobby Budnick from Salute Your Shorts. There's like 5 guys like Bobby Budnick in the front row, and they're all slapping him on the back.
I mean, there's a lot of people in the 90s that looked like that, though.
Yeah. Yeah, man, Goldust is getting the poo knocked out of him here from Undertaker to begin with. You're right. Keep going, man.
Speaking of fans, just I was going to point this out on the Raws, too, but one thing I've noticed going back through these is that there weren't a lot of signs at these shows back then, but at almost every show, there are people with Undertaker signs. There are not a lot of signs in the crowd. We don't start seeing that till the late 90s and the peak of the Attitude Era, where there were signs everywhere. But in these days, they were few and far between, but it seems like there's always at least a couple Undertaker ones in the crowd. And you see that on these Raws and on this pay-per-view, too. So that just, again, shows you his star power and his presence in the eyes of the fans back then.
Oh, yeah. Very astute observation there. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And as
very true.
I've heard Jim Cornette say, you can't make anybody make a sign. Like, that shows you who's over, because the fan goes out and buys the cardboard, buys the marker, and makes the sign themselves. Like, anybody can cheer. That doesn't cost anything. But if someone is going out and paying money to go support somebody, that shows you who's over. And Undertaker is, he's over. You can't deny that.
Yep. That's a very good point from Mr. Cornette. So, very good. Back to the match, though. Like you said, Taker's pretty much in control. But then, so out of nowhere, after the old school, Goldust hits a body slam on him. And then Undertaker sits up, and he's kind of in control again. And then, out of nowhere, Goldust hits a tombstone.
What?
Goldust picks up... Well, because they do the spot where Goldust bounces off the ropes, and usually he falls down on his back, and he hits the throat thrust to the guy, which is a great spot. I love it. And Cody Rhodes even began doing it in his later years. But when they go to do it here, I don't know, somebody mistimed that or miscommunicated, because it was off so bad.
Yeah.
And Goldust goes to hit it, and Undertaker's head's already up, and they don't connect at all. And so then, I don't know if they just called an audible, and he got up and just tombstoned Undertaker, though.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught that too. Botchamania, all over the place here. I think actually it's Undertaker's fault. We're not wrestlers. It's hard for me to say, but it looks like Undertaker sells it too early, and he pops his head up before Goldust has even done the uppercut. So I kind of think it was Undertaker's fault. And then, like you said, they fumble around. And is this the first time we've seen someone do a tombstone to the Undertaker?
That we've recorded here on Talking Taker. Yeah, I believe so. It's the first pay-per-view. But
out of nowhere.
No one cared.
No one cared.
The audience did not care. They didn't care.
No,
I don't know why. It
was just dead silent.
Like, look at this. Are you kidding me? Because Goldust is a big guy, but he's not Diesel. He's not Yokozuna, But I was like, why does the crowd not care? I don't know if it's Goldust they don't care about or what, but
they didn't build. That's like a huge spot, and he just does it. I don't know what the deal with that was, and it's huge. It's a massive event in the timeline of the Undertaker, and it's just meaningless. It's so weird.
It really is.
But he does.
He sits up. There's some rest in peace chants after that.
Yeah. But it does kind of give Goldust the chance to take over, take control.
Yeah.
He rolls him into the casket for the first time, but Undertaker fights out of it, and there's just
Casket cam is back.
It is back in force. But I just wrote this match has no flow to it. It's not pretty. There's no story being told here. It's just weird. Goldust, I think, is a better worker now than he was back then, and he's 50 years old almost, pushing it. I don't know exactly how old he is, but it's just crazy.
I think he's 47 or 48 right now. But yeah, I think it goes to all the build-up we had talking about this match in the past 20 minutes of this episode. It's been mostly about Mankind and Undertaker. Goldust is just a pawn in the plan.
That's a good point.
And so I think that's part of the reason. I think if Mankind would have tombstone Undertaker here, boom, I think the crowd would have cared.
Yeah.
Because he was already over. Not that Goldust isn't, but he's just a part of this puzzle here. So I don't know. Anyway.
And I don't know if maybe it's the night. Like they did this match already on Sunday, and maybe they're just kind of going through the motions on this one. But it's just kind of lifeless. Even I wrote Paul Bearer and Marlena are kind of lifeless. And usually Paul Bearer, is putting on a show on the outside, and he just doesn't seem into it either. It's just like a weird vibe for this match. Just kind of continuing through it. Goldust locks in a sleeper hold for a long time. He gets Undertaker into the casket again and tries to slam the lid, but Undertaker just barely gets his arm out, which was a cool kind of near fall in here. And at this point,
JR
Undertaker
calls the coffin.
Oh, he does call the coffin. I did catch that.
He calls the coffin a couple times, yeah. No, it's a casket.
It's a casket match, clearly.
Yeah, come on.
Undertaker picked up the casket lid and threw Goldust out of the ring, but he picked it up so hard he broke the lid on the casket again.
He rips the lid off gimmick casket, yeah. I was like, whoops. So. It does look nice and cozy in there.
Yeah, Undertaker's all about comfort on his caskets.
Yeah. Well, should rest in peace,
Exactly.
So, but yeah, he rips the lid off on accident. Then he goes and grabs a chair and tries to use it on Goldust. So I thought that was good. But at this point, I just commented that commentary is putting over both guys.
Yeah.
They're not. They really are. Like, that's one thing about JR. He will put over, because you got to put the guy who's going to lose over because you want to beat somebody, Right. He wants to look like you beat somebody. So, yeah, he's putting Goldust over here. His size, his weight, his athletic ability, his mind games, everything. And obviously Undertaker as well, causing the phenomenal, the phenom, all that stuff we're used to. But then they're back in the ring, and Goldust hits a diving clothesline, and then he goes for a pin. He lands on top of him.
He counts the pin too. Yeah.
Oh,
I can't. That spot is always just so dumb.
Yeah.
It makes Goldust look stupid. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah. Then he does old school, doesn't he? Next.
Yeah, that was kind of cool too. He goes for the old school. I don't think we've seen anybody do that either. So Goldust is doing something that we see all the time now with people doing each other's signature moves, but really didn't see back then. He goes for the Undertaker's old school, but he can't get this one. Undertaker drags him down, and there was a big pop for that one. I think. Because they actually sold it more. I mean, he just pulled that tombstone out of nowhere. Felt like it should have been the other way around. But yeah.
Exactly.
The crowd pops big for that. Undertaker slashes his throat, signals it's over, gives him the tombstone right beside the casket. And as he asks for the casket lid to be opened up, all of a sudden, Mankind pops out. Crazy finish right there. Locks in the mandible claw. And this is, I think, the third or fourth time now that we've seen the mandible claw take the Undertaker down and put him totally out of the picture. And that is the most we've seen anybody get over on Undertaker. We've seen people get over on him maybe one time a piece, but now Mankind has done it 3 or 4 times and has put Undertaker away. And he slams the lid shut on Undertaker, crawls on top of the casket, and gives Goldust the cheap win.
Yep. So, yeah, Goldust wins, keeps his IC title. Undertaker does not have gold around his waist once again. And, yeah, Mankind sits up there. Again, you kind of saw it coming if you know how wrestling goes. But it was really cool, to see. I'm sure to see for the first time.
It was a great finish.
It was really cool. And, I mean, I still dig it now. It's really cool. And, again, that Mankind character is already over. Like you said, Taker's already selling for him. Super good. So, I love where this is headed, the matches we're going to get between these two coming up on this podcast. But yeah, Goldust went, and then smoke starts to billow out of the casket.
Similar to
dry ice, I guess.
Rumble 94, a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's white smoke
Shades
this time.
Yeah. It's not gray or green or black or whatever that was. It's white. Yeah. And Paul Bearer kind of looks for, I think he's waiting on his cue from the guys in the truck to talk about what's going to happen, but the camera's already on him, so he finally opens the casket, and the Undertaker's gone. And no, Paul Bearer, like you said, he was kind of sleepwalking through the outside antics, but right here he wakes up.
Yes,
he gets big old eyes. He's selling it like, where'd he go? And he's looking around like he's gone. And you hear the gong hit, and I just wrote there, Who's Baker? Bearer. Paul Bearer is selling so good, and he just can't believe his eyes. And the lights go out, and the music plays. The Undertaker music plays, and the pay-per-view fades to black.
Pay-per-view just kind of ends right there.
Yeah.
And, man, this is what I'm talking about here. JR was awesome calling the match, putting these guys over. But I feel like this little segment, this storyline aspect, the the craziness of the casket, the smoke coming out of it, Undertaker disappearing. I feel like that needed Vince McMahon to really put it over the top. I felt like Jim Ross was Jim Ross is always great with the action in the ring and making it feel like a sport. I don't know. I mean, this might be blasphemous, but I don't know if Jim Ross's strong suit was always like the craziness, the sports entertainment stuff. And Vince McMahon would have just been over the top, just screaming, "Oh my God, what has happened to the Undertaker? We've never seen anything like this. What could this mean?" Just like getting the rasp in his voice and everything. And the show just kind of ended here. And Jim Ross was like, "All right, folks, well, we'll see you next week on Monday Night Raw." Like, come on, man. Jim Ross is the greatest of all time, but I don't feel like he nailed it on that. The call for the end of the show wasn't his strongest moment.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't even pick that up. I'm glad you pointed it out, but I agree. Vince McMahon is good for that. He definitely would have built up the storyline part of it, and would have gone over the top, and his voice would have gone like this.
Exactly.
So that's what am I over? I think Jerry Seinfeld. But so I agree, man. That was good. Good point.
Yeah.
But it's an 8-minute match. It feels longer than that.
Oh,
it's kind of plotting, and it's
not
going to get any 5-star reviews. But it's telling the story. It leads us to the next month with Mankind, and throughout the rest of the summer with Mankind and Goldust. And you listeners are going to be in for the ride. We're going to be sticking with these guys for a while. So, again, we don't choose the matches. We're just going through every match in the pay-per-view cycle. So.
Well, we thank you for choosing us and choosing to listen to us. We appreciate your feedback. We've gotten so much of it, and we just love it, man. We would do this, like I said, we started this because we just love to talk about wrestling on our own, but we just want to share that with the world, and it's just been such a fun ride to share that with everybody out there, all the fellow Undertaker fans and Creatures of the Night out there. So we thank you for listening, and just to wrap up and give a final eulogy, if you will, for a couple of our previous episodes. We polled the people on our Twitter page for what you thought of last week's matchup between Diesel and Undertaker. I think we both gave it a thumbs up. On the poll, though, as my Twitter is loading up here, we got a 75% gave it thumbs up, 25% gave that one a thumbs down. So a little bit surprising to me. We'll put the poll up for this week's matchup, give you the results, what you think of it. I think, me personally, I'm a thumbs down on this week's matchup. Not one of the best Undertaker matches I've ever seen, but we want to hear your opinion. And Travis, I know you got some answers on our Twitter page at Talking Taker from one of our favorite listeners out there. He comments and retweets us all the time. Randy Turco out there at his Twitter handle is at Pokey's Little Dog, so you can go follow him. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but tell the world the info he dropped on us.
Oh, he just confirmed that several episodes ago I was talking about how I was pretty sure that the Undertaker's Phantom of the Opera mask was in the SmackDown Mall of the WWF No Mercy video game. And I couldn't find any confirmation of it. I don't have my 64 at this point. You have it, but you have been in the process of moving, so you haven't had an opportunity to look at it. And so this listener, Randy, he confirmed it for us. He indeed did. He sent us a screenshot with an arrow pointed to it. I think it's like $500 or something in the SmackDown Mall. It's way too expensive for what it is.
5,000.
5,000?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's way too overpriced. But yeah, he sent us a picture of that, and he said he put hashtag Twitterless Travis on there. I appreciate that too. Yeah, he sent us a picture and said, I'm not crazy. The Phantom Mask was in the SD Mall and No Mercy, and part of that, and yeah, so again, thank you to Randy, Pokey's Little Dog, whatever that means. We appreciate that, man. I knew I wasn't crazy, or I hoped I wasn't crazy, and the Big D hoped he wasn't crazy as well. So thank you for confirming that we are not crazy, and that we did remember that. And again, that is the best wrestling game of all time.
Of all time, no doubt about it. And we thank you for listening. We're maybe not the best wrestling podcast of all time, but we think we're doing okay, and we appreciate you enjoying us and listening to us along the way. Check us out on Twitter at Talking Taker with all your feedback, on the Facebook page as well. We post stuff throughout the week building up to the match. We post your comments. I posted that picture from the SmackDown Mall on the Twitter page, so go check all that out, polls, all that good stuff. I'm on Twitter at Alex Doriot, or you can reach Twitterless Travis with that hashtag. You can reach out to us with that. go give us a like and a subscription over on your favorite podcast listening service, whether it's iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, Podomatic, all that good stuff. We post everything on there. And yeah, just thanks for all the feedback and for listening. And go check out King of the Ring 1996 for next week's matchup. Go watch it. Let us know what your comments and thoughts are about it, and we'll give you all ours next Friday. Or, like I said, we do post these late Thursday night for subscribers. So if you subscribe to us, it'll be in your inbox there Thursday night, and then I'll post it on Twitter and Facebook for everybody else on Friday morning. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I got there, buddy.
Yeah, if you were there, beware of dog. If you were there for night 1 or night 2, if you have any stories about being caught in the darkness, let us know. Always say that. Give us a shout out. Let us know what happened if you were there in South Carolina. Let us know if you want to see another pay-per-view come back to South Carolina. Apparently Vince McMahon hates you. Sorry, guys. But yeah, and other than that, ladies and gentlemen, take her easy.
Look at you, dead man. So tall. Ooh, so dark. So clammy and so stiff. That's it. It's driving me crazy. What is that? What kind of cologne is that? Is that embalming fluid number 5?